welcome up.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry to disappoint anyone who came here to see the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills talk about training. I know there's some Buffalo faces in here, right over here. So my name is Josh Allen. I am a barista who became a backwaiter, who became a brunch server, who became a brunch bartender, who became a front server, who became a bartender, who became a sommelier, who became a beverage director, who became a director of operations, who became a regional training manager and got a master's, and then became a director of training for a small organization, and then became a director of training and development for Paris Baguette. So that's how my career trajectory worked its way up. And I developed any skills that I have today doing that. And I owe pretty much my entire career to the industry, especially to managers who took an interest in me in my career, who the general manager of the restaurant that I worked at for 7 years when I was a back waiter made me teach a class to a group of sommeliers on Riesling wine. And it was terrifying, and I thought I had no value to add to that conversation. But because she did that, I learned that I like teaching people, and I learned that I like the people who work in the restaurant industry. So I owe everything to, those individuals, and that's why I'm excited to talk about this today. I'm curious, who in this room started their career in an hourly entry-level food service position? Yes. Now I'm curious, so we're in an industry that has terrible margins, that has incredibly high labor, incredibly high COGS. Rent is astronomical. Labor market is incredibly challenged. We work holidays, we work late nights, we work around the clock essentially. So I'm curious, why did you stay in the industry? Yeah, for sure. The rapid way we learn things is an excellent reason to stay in the industry. Who else? Who else? Why did you stay in the industry? Yeah. Amen. Worst thing I did was accept a position where I sit at a desk sometimes. It's like, ugh, yeah, please. Free food, 100%, yes. Yeah. My favorite part about my current job is I walk through training centers and taste test what everybody is making. I'm like, that's my favorite part. Um, Absolutely. So the reason I stayed in this industry is, I learned really quickly, especially being a sommelier, especially working in fine dining, that like I have a really hard time caring about the guests a little bit too. I just have a hard time caring about that experience a lot. I was like, this isn't right for me. I don't want to serve you every day. That was a problem. I learned that as a director of operations, I cared that you had the things that you needed to do your job, but I didn't really care that you like had depleted the inventory of the right color cups that you're supposed to have and that you're using white cups. It's like that. I just had a hard time committing to like caring about that. But what I have always cared about is the fact that somebody who is a porter in a restaurant for 12 years can say, I'm interested in X, and that porter 10 years later can be the vice president of operations overseeing, a huge part of a restaurant group. That to me is the most exciting part about our industry. It's why I stay in it. It's why I'll never leave it. Unless there's another industry that can allow for someone who doesn't speak English or who doesn't have a high school education or who doesn't have connections to work their way up into a career where they can come and speak at a conference or where they can have a retirement fund or where they can pay for their kids' college education. I think that is the most exciting part about our industry. So what I'm going to talk about today is how we are doing that at Paris Baguette. The reason I work for Paris Baguette, I mean, it's manyfold. I also really like free food, and the free food at Paris Baguette is very good. Um, uh, but it's because of what we can do for back of house positions, particularly. When I look at my colleagues at Paris Baguette who work in the support office, who sit around at desks with me, who are in meetings where we're thinking of strategy, the majority of them came up through the ranks as hourly bakers or cake decorators in cafes and are now in these support positions. The vast majority of them. And that is really exciting to me. So I'll tell you a little about the company. So we have 156 cafes currently in the U.S. That number is actually 157 now. In the U.S., 4 in Canada, 16 are corporate, 140 are franchise. We are working our way towards a vastly more franchise model. That 16 will probably shrink. And we're slated to open about 80 cafes this year. Last year we opened 42 cafes in North America. This coming year we're going to open 80. So it's a rapidly growing franchise organization. Our goal is to open 1,000 cafes by 2030. We will absolutely surpass that number. I would be surprised if it's not closer to 1,100 by 2030. It's really exciting to be part of an organization that grows like that. It's also a big part of why we can create opportunities for so many people. Keep that in mind as we start to talk about some of the practical parts of how we make these jobs happen. Just a little information on how our 2023 went. So currently we have about 550 total corporate team members. In 2003, we added 47 new or additional roles outside of cafes. So these are support member roles. Our district production manager position, we expanded that in headcount. Our district manager position, we expanded that by headcount. Our quality control, we expanded that by headcount. Our new cafe opening team, we vastly expanded by headcount. And to help fill that, we had 46 corporate cafe team members promoted into multi-unit manager roles last year, which was really exciting. And 27 corporate support team members, so either people who are working in the support office or who are already in these multi-unit roles, promoted or into lateral moves. We're going to talk about cross-training a lot in here and opportunities to move people between silos. That's a huge part of what we do at Paris Baguette. I mean, my closest colleague in we all answer into the chief people officer, but my closest colleague on the HR side started as a retailer in a cafe, and she is, I don't know what I would do without her now. She knows everything about every cafe and came out of operations, but had an interest in HR, and now she is my closest colleague. In 2023, we trained 1,200 plus new franchise bakers, cake decorators, sandwich team members, baristas, and managers. It takes about 30 people to open one of these cafes on staff, and we train all of them before opening. In terms of the franchise to corporate relationship in career development, we do have some team members that came out of franchise cafes, and our goal is to always have that relationship. It starts with the franchisee requesting that we interview someone from their team who's interested in these positions. Now, that being said, we also have franchisees who have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units, and they have their own pipeline into district managers, district production managers. We give them the model that we use in corporate, and they can mimic that exactly. We give them every single tool that we talk about in here. We train our franchisees on as well. So, there's a pipeline within the franchise environment, but if you're a single unit operator who has a baker who's just ready for something bigger and better, they can absolutely come and interview with us, and there's a great chance that we would provide them a pathway into a career. So that is available to all of our franchisees as well. All of this comes out of our brand DNA, which is essentially our mission, vision, and values. I've worked for a lot of companies that have mission, visions, and values, and 100% of the time when I first hear them, I roll my eyes, including this one. The first time I heard it, I was like, okay, that's a run-on sentence, but that's fine. our mission is to bring expertly crafted, baked and brewed goods to our guests through a warm and welcoming bakery cafe experience that delivers joy to everyone. A little bit of a run-on sentence, but it is the core of why we do what we do every single day. Now, the vision to reestablish the neighborhood bakery cafe is the heart of the community around the world. That's why we're expanding so rapidly. And the values which absolutely drive our decision-making at Paris Baguette, when we propose a new idea or a new strategy, it has to be rooted in these three things. Our values are to have heart, to nourish community, rise to the occasion, and spread joy. We use all four of these things literally as decision-making tools. They're very practical for us. In training and development, what we focus on the most is the expertly crafted baked and brewed goods. That means when we are training bakers or cake decorators or baristas or managers, we can't train for execution. It can't just be that you go into your cafe and you know how to manage the process between the dough conditioner and the oven well enough to produce enough product. It has to be masterful. It has to be in the pursuit of mastery. That's how we get excellent, expertly crafted products every day into all of these cafes. It's also the reason we audit our cafes 4 times a month, because expertly crafted is part of the mission. So out of those mission, visions, and values, we have started to cultivate a career cultivating culture. This has 3 parts to it that I'm going to take you through. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on all of them, but happy to answer any questions about any of these things that you might have afterwards. Just let me know. So the first part is training masters at work. That's what I'm talking about when I mean we don't just train for proficiency, we train further out than that. What does mastery look like? How do you pursue that mastery? When we talk about a baker, they're in training with us for 6 weeks supervised, another 4 weeks on the job, and then it takes about 6 months for them to become proficient enough to work an oven shift on their own. It's a serious amount of skills that they need to acquire, and then that they need to gain higher reasoning skills along with those technical skills in order to manage a bakery in the morning. So we really pursue this masters at work concept. And it's also, what that is it's a commitment between us and the team member to their success. It's a long-term commitment. The other piece to this career cultivating culture is a developmental toolkit. I probably did upwards to 36 training sessions myself with managers and franchisees on the developmental tools that are available to them. I had follow-up meetings, lots of individual development plan sessions. The developmental toolkit, the expectation is that anybody who manages anybody else's career, whether it's for the short term or for the long term, is that they are fluent in all of the tools that we have available and that they're being applied every day. We're a very manual company. We don't have a lot of technology that we utilize. You'll see that when I sort of talk about what the training system actually looks like. And a lot of that, what that has resulted in is a lot of one-on-one work with individuals. There isn't a lot of like, I'm going to put you on this learning path and you're going to follow it through this computerized system. It's a lot of, what do you like to do? How can I find the next thing for you that resonates with that also benefits the organization? It's a lot of work to do this kind of work, but with a toolkit, it becomes a lot easier. And then we're really bold in opportunity creation. We're going to talk about some career paths that are a little unusual, but have really benefited the organization in the long run. Okay, so training masters at work. We'll just take a look at what our new cafe opening training plan looks like. This is also available to any new hire. So we have 2 training facilities right now. We're opening a 3rd and a 4th one. The first one is in Moonachie, New Jersey, where our headquarters are. The second one is in Santa Clara, California. We're opening a third one in Costa Mesa, California, and we'll open another one in the Houston area in 2025. So when you're opening a new cafe with us, or you've hired a new baker, whatever it is, this is the training plan that they go through. So a baker comes to us, a caker, which is what we call our cake decorators, bakers and cakers, and a general manager. Yes, we're very into alliterations, you'll find. Bakers, cakers, and general managers come to us for 4 weeks of training. So when you're opening a new cafe, that's 10 team members that you hire and come and stay in Moonachie, New Jersey, or Santa Clara for a month. It used to be 2 months until I came on and cut it in half. And that commitment is real. It's paying for salaries and housing and travel and food stipends. And then on the corporate side, if this is a franchise opening, we cover all of the COGS for the training center. We cover all of the labor in the training center. We cover that entire experience on our end. So it is a mutual commitment to these bakers and cake decorators and general managers who are coming into the organization, whether they're corporate or franchise, that we are here to help them start this career off with a lot of technical skill training. During these 4 weeks, they really focus on the fundamentals of what it means to be a baker and a cake decorator. We take them through everything from like, what is fermentation? How does dough rise? What is the process of why do you do 2 rises on certain products? Why do some products go into a convection oven and some go into a deck oven? For cake decorating, it's 12 fundamental skills that are drilled over and over and over again, because those 12 skills really take about 8 months to become very good at, but we try to expedite that process by going through 4 weeks of essentially boot camp. And also worth noting, they probably spend 1 hour of these 4 weeks sitting down in the classroom. The rest of it is in a kitchen, on their feet, practically doing the job that they're doing in kitchens that are set up exactly like their kitchen will be in their cafe, with 2 trainers per group. So there's a bake trainer, a cake trainer, and then our general manager trains with an operator. So a district manager or a director of operations comes in and trains the district managers the general managers throughout the process. In week 5, we go to their cafe with them. So usually construction turnover happens sometime in week 4. Week 5, we send 2 trainers along with their team to their cafe to help them set it up, and we train for another 5 days there. Usually they add another 3 bakers, another 2 cake decorators, 14 retailers, probably 4 more managers in there, 4 sandwich salad team members, and we set up the cafe and we start training that group. Again, it's another commitment on our part to make sure that there are trainers on site there on our dime to help make sure that everyone gets the right start to their career. And then weeks 6 through 10, the cafe is open, it's functioning. You have the bakers and cakers and retailers and general managers who have gone through training, who are trained to train other cakers and bakers and general managers and et cetera, et cetera. So the last couple weeks are on-the-job training. We usually send the district production manager comes through for about a week. The district manager comes through for about a week. I'll send one of my senior trainers or a learning programs manager through there for 3 or 4 days to assess how everything's going. If we find deficits in skills and quality of product or production volume, we'll send them back for another 5 days to train this group live in the cafe, because our market differentiator is product quality. And if the skills aren't in place in the cafe, it self-perpetuates downwards or it self-perpetuates upwards. Subsequent openings, if this cafe, whether it's corporate or franchise, if they're hitting certain scores on food safety, food quality, guest service scores, they can train their own team members for their subsequent openings in their cafes. That's a 6 to 10 week training program that's supervised by training managers who go in every other week and make sure that everything is progressing at the right pace that it needs to. All of this is to say, like, we commit hard and fast at the beginning, and we have options of where we invest our time and money as a department. It could be in learning technology. It probably should be in the next phase in learning technology. But we have committed to the training center experience because we've seen what it does for the long-term experience for these cake decorators and bakers, because they have this new skill set that they're incredibly proud of when they leave. They worked for 4 weeks. They went away to school for this, essentially. When they come back, they take so much pride in the product that's coming out. And that, to me, is like, it makes me so happy to go to a new cafe opening and have cakers and bakers come up to me and say, like, did you taste the product? Did you see the product? Did you see what we did? It's like, that is how a career starts, is somebody is excited about what they do. They know the value to the organization because we've invested in them. And that's why the program looks like this. And if there's any questions, please just feel free to raise your hand and say, I have a question, or whatever, or I'll just keep going. The next piece of this is what happens after they come out of training, what happens when we need to sustain this development, this momentum that they have, and it's a development toolkit. I believe that there are 4 things that managers need in order to help develop your team. I don't have enough people. I have a lot of people on my team. I have about 17 trainers on my team, but most of them are technical specialists in cake decorating and baking. I have one other person on my team who's run leadership development, and she is swamped in compliance training for the most part. But with the proper training, my management team has actually become incredible developers of people. It's been really exciting to see. But I have to provide them with 4 things: tools, training, consultation, and accountability. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So under tools and training, so for every tool, there is substantial training. The number 1 is individual development plans. It's literally, like, nothing in here is going to be new, by the way. Nothing in here is, like, surprise invented by Paris Baguette. It's all stuff that I took from past experiences and really just packed together into a substantial kit. So number 1 is an individual development plan. This is basically 2 conversations that a manager has with their subordinate on what they want to do. I'll show you what that conversation looks like in a minute, because it's a very important part of the fundamental development theory that we have. Cross-training is a huge part of this. So after a cake decorator and a baker has been proficient at what they do for about a year, which is really about 18 months into the job, we start cross-training them. So if you're a baker, you start learning cake decorating. If you're a cake decorator who already knows how to bake, you start learning sandwich. If you've learned all 3 of those, you start learning retail and barista. And as they start to learn all these things, they become incredibly qualified to be a multi-unit manager. So cross-training is really important there. We also have some high potential programming. This was piloted this year to mixed success, I would say. We're still working on what that really looks like. We have something called the pro team. So this is a cake decorator or a baker who is not interested in moving out of the cafe, but they're really, really good at what they do. They can certify as a pro team member, which can go to new cafe openings. When we open more than 4 cafes in a month, we don't have enough people to open those cafes. So we use pro team members out of the existing cafes to go and supplement those openings. And I'll say this a couple times before the end of this. There is no environment that is richer for development than a new store opening. There is no place that you can send someone where they will not gain skills so fast than opening a new store. You have to manage a franchise relationship, which if you can do that, then you are skilled. You have to manage other people, you have to manage your peers, you have to manage up, down, sideways, an emergency, that light switch doesn't do anything, this oven doesn't turn on. You have to figure all that stuff out because the cafe is opening in 48 hours. If you can do that, you are ready to do almost anything. So do not waste any new store opening. Use it as a developmental tool. It's where I learned everything I know, is opening restaurants. We have a junior DPM and a multi-unit GM role, which is really just a stepping stone role. We have a training GM and a training baker, which is, again, somebody who isn't interested in moving out of their cafe, but wants to start gaining more skills. They can train in their store. And then we do tons of classes and workshops. We do at least 2 a month. They're on all kinds of things. They're on these tools, of course, but they're also on soft skills training. And I mean, really, soft skills has been a big focus for us right now. We're training a lot of our district managers and district production managers on, I think the course is called Handling Difficult Clients, which is about managing the franchise relationship when you go in and you have to give them news about the quality of their products. And then the other piece, which is consultation and accountability, we use 9-box grids. So myself, the director of training, the director of HR, and then our corporate training manager meet once a month with every single department head. And we go through their entire department from the ground up and place every single person in the 9-box grid. And then following up from that, the corporate training manager provides some action items that they can take per each individual on developing those people. So that's the HR training development meetings. We also do team member trails, meaning you can go and work with another team member in another department. If you're a baker in a cafe and you want to learn about training or HR or marketing or finance, all you have to do is ask, and we set you up with a full day where you go and you have lunch with someone and you learn about what they do and you go and see what they do, see if you're interested in it. We have cafe days, which is the opposite. So if you work in the support office, once a year you go and you work a full shift in a cafe. You have to come at 4 o'clock in the morning and work as a baker or a cake decorator or a retailer. We do a pulse survey twice a year right now, but looking to increase that. Development is tied to performance for managers. So if you manage people, your performance is judged on how well you develop your people. And then PB Chiefs walk the walk. So this is walk the talk. Our chief executives are deeply committed to developing the people around them. I know I'm out of time, so I'm going to really quickly just show you the rest of this. We have a development toolkit. It's available in our one and only piece of technology, which is called Fran Connect. We essentially use it as an intranet or like a Dropbox. There are recommendations in there for how to develop people. This is the developmental conversation that we train everybody to have. The first and most important question that you ask is, what is your favorite part of your job? If you can figure that out, you can figure out a great career path that is sustainable for someone. The opportunity creation. So this is another part that I'm very excited about at Paris Baguette. This is the first slide that we show in orientation. It shows that if you're a new back-of-house team member today, you can become a new store opening production manager, a district production manager, a quality control manager, a regional training manager, a research and development manager. There are a million career paths at Paris Baguette that fly through the back of house. The part that we don't show that I'm also very excited about is this idea. So they can also, and we have back-of-house team members who are currently in all of these positions: human resources specialist, supply chain manager, paralegal, marketing manager, accounting coordinator. The last piece of this is, if you have a baker in your cafe who really just likes to play music at night and bake 3 times a week, then the best thing that we can do for their development is teach them how to be a great, effective baker 3 times a week so they can make the most money that they can possibly make, so they can play the most music at night that they can possibly play. That is fundamental to our theory of development. And everybody is trained on exactly these points. So I think that's it that I got for you today. If you have any questions, come find me afterwards. Thanks.